Rival Burundian factions have announced that peace talks announced for January the 6th would not go ahead on time, with no fixed date given for when they might take place. The Burundi government delegation said that no consensus had been reached on the date and that the presidential press chief confirmed on Tuesday the government delegation would not attend the scheduled talks. The opposition coalition also said it would not attend, with a spokesperson saying delegates had not yet received an invitation, nor had a date been given for when the talks might go ahead. Let's now get some more insights and analysis on the Burundi crisis. Ambassador Boaz Mbaya is a former diplomat and an international relations expert. He's joining me here in Nairobi. Ambassador Boaz, thank you very much. Both the government, though, and the opposition groups have failed to show up for the proposed talks on Burundi in Arusha that had been hoped would help resolve that crisis in Burundi. What is stalling the peace effort?
Thank you very much for having me on the program. I don't think there is anything stalling the process. The problem is negotiations require preparations. And to prepare two parties or more to arrive at a table so that they can find a solution to the problem requires time, requires a lot of energy and preparations. Firstly, there needs to be confidence-building measures taken by the mediator. And they will be involving things like shuttle diplomacy, envoys being dispatched to both parties. You'll have what you call proxy talks, where they may be in the same hotel or same place, yet you need somebody to shuttle so that he can get a consensus between the two parties before the negotiations begin. And until you achieve those, it is very difficult to have direct talks between the two parties. So I think in this case it's not anything is stalling the negotiations, but I think the preparations have been poorly done.
Well, with the preparations and confidence building aside, though, there are some who say that the authorities in Bujumbura do not necessarily share the kind of urgency exhibited by the international community over the crisis. Is that the case? What's your view?
The authorities in Bujumbura are dealing with a very delicate situation, and whereas we may want to blame them for stalling the negotiation because of their government, the point is this. It is very difficult for a sitting government just to be commanded to talks unless there are prior preparations well done. So I think in this case the mediator needs to do a lot more to try and explain the circumstances in which talks are going to be held, where they're going to be held, and are those conditions met and acceptable to both parties. So it is wrong to probably imagine that the government has refused to go when the assurances have not been given as to what is going to be achieved, because it doesn't make sense to go to a place without any assurance that something positive will come out of those talks.
Well, the East African Community Ambassador has been spearheading the regional peace efforts so far. Does that regional group in the EAC still wield the necessary leverage to deliver a result in this situation?
Being a delicate situation as it is, I don't think it is a matter of what influence one can wield, but I think the East African community is well placed to talk to the government in Bujumbura. After all, Bujumbura is a partner state of the East African community. There are integration milestones that needs to be achieved, and you cannot achieve those unless all parties are on board. There are situations that are being discussed all the time. So the leaders have to meet more frequently to try and influence the government in Bujumbura to come to the talks. I would like to imagine a delegation of the East African community going to Bujumbura will help a lot in helping the government understand that there is nothing sinister in meeting their opponents. After all, we know from history that situations like in Colombia, South Africa, where negotiations have been difficult in the first place, but they are already talking, and it is possible that the Burundi situation will be resolved amicably. I think the East African community still has a say. The only problem is we don't have an enforcement mechanism where you can actually thrash anybody to come to the talks by force.
All right, Ambassador Boaz Mbaya joining us there in studio on the Burundi crisis. Thank you.